Here. Welcome everyone to another edition of GTE Professional Network Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Peterson. Wow, this is April the 2nd already. We're in a whole new quarter of the year, second quarter of the new year. And as we continue to assist entrepreneurs and churches and nonprofit organizations to build and grow their network in the area where they do business, it is really a good opportunity this year, 2024, to really maximize each moment that you have and making sure that you do everything to the level of what your goals are. And what I do here each week, and we do this on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, I share tools and tips and information to basically help you grow. I've been in this industry for a minute, coming from manufacturing, from Chicago, Illinois, where I'm from up north. Moved down here to Houston, Texas, and got a chance to see the opportunities as they continue to grow here in this city. Houston is the fourth largest city in the United States, next to my city. And a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, a lot of people have basically started their own thing, which I'm super excited to introduce our special guest, Miss Tiffany, for Sugar Cookie Books. And I'm really excited for her to share with you all today about her business. And let me just give you a little bit about Miss Tiffany. Is a multifaceted professional, blending her expertise as a lawyer with her passion for children's literature. She's the creative force behind a collection of educational and uplifting 20 children's picture books, each created to inspire and empower young readers. And we need more of that. Lord knows we need more of that. And so I'm super excited that we look at that. I'm a big advocate as well for young people and reading and basically getting on board today. And everybody thinking, well, they don't read anymore today. Well, yeah, they do. That's not all true. We have a number of avid young readers out here, but we have people like Miss Tiffany and a lot of others who are advocates for that, who are basically sharing their vision so they can stay on a creative mindset. And I'm all for a creative mindset. Since I've been doing my business, I do web design and marketing, and I've been doing this since 2008. And I can tell you every website that I've put together for all of these young people and everybody across the board, it has been a blessing to see their creative take on in the marketplace. The marketplace is huge and vast, but you want to stay in an industry that's constantly growing. You don't want to be in an industry that's not growing anymore. The money has shifted. I keep saying that. And it's all about how we build our network, how we create a platform for people to basically learn as they earn and build a legacy for themselves where they can continue to grow. Growth is the most important commodity on the planet to me. Without growth, we're just existing, we're not living. And that's not what we're here to do. So without further ado, let's get on with our show with Miss Tiffany. Miss Tiffany, how are you today?
I am good. Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on to our podcast. And I'm really excited for what I've read about you and what Dr. Little shared about you. And that's so cool. Yeah. Have her on. I would love to. Because this is what we want to do. We're always going to give exposure to people who are actually making an impact in the communities where they are. And my business, of course, and building networks and improving people's lives, not only that, is to build and grow where you are and to continue to be an impact. And so what got you started and how did you come up with the Sugar Cookie Books?
So what got me started was my husband and my mom. They've always been like, why you haven't published a book? Why haven't you published a book? And I'm like, I don't know how to publish a book, first off. And secondly, I haven't even written a book. So then you fast forward to 2020. And, we're all at home, working from home, transitioning. We're going through a lot of stress for different reasons. And I come across a Facebook group that does independent publishing. And so that's when I realized that there was such a thing as independent publishing or self-publishing, as it's commonly referred to.
Self-publishing is the key word. Yes.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'm smart. I have, I paid for my Juris Doctorate. I can figure out how to do this. And so that's when I embarked on the journey of publishing my first book, Andrew Learns About Actors. And then after that, I was just kind of doing something, a bucket list item, trying to quiet my husband and my mom. But then the pandemic is still going on, and my husband and my mom were both educators at the time. And so that's when I came out with Andrew Learns About Teachers, because I not only wanted to expose children to the idea that the teachers that they see before them are possible career opportunities, but I wanted to also pay homage to the teachers because they were doing a lot of pivoting during the pandemic. It was like crazy. And so I wanted to make sure that people understood that they were not first responders, but they were very essential workers during that time, and they were doing the best they could. And so after publishing Andrew Learns About Teachers, and Andrew's the name of my son. And so,
okay. I was wondering where you get the name from, but go ahead.
And so after publishing those two, I'm kind of like in the author world, if you will, and I'm coming across statistics about how we lack diversity in children's books. And so at that time, I'm like, okay, we have a lot of strife still going on, and I have the ability to impact at least the publishing industry. And so I will. And so 20 books later.
I was looking at your accolades there, Tiffany, and I'm saying, wow, this is a blessing to see that you didn't stop at one, but you continued. And most authors that I build websites for, talk to, or share information with, they're all saying, well, Ed, I don't know if I'm gonna write another book. I say, well, you got to continue. You can't stop, because if your readers love the first one, guess what? They're gonna like the second one and the third and fourth and so on. But you have to give them, you're doing a journey of a message. You're taking them through a journey. And with your own personal experience and having children of your own, and me as a father myself, I know that I want to make sure I want to impact my son in a way that's going to be a blessing for him. And not only that, his friends and the people that's around him. So you started on something really great. I'm really excited for you. And one of the things that I really want to share, I'll ask you this one, Tiffany, is since you started the Andrew book, and what was your thought when you completed it?
The first one?
Yes.
So the first one, again, it was just a bucket list item. Me and my son, we both love TV or film, things like that. And so we always interact with the TV characters and things of that sort. But as an adult, I understand that the TV characters are not real, but I wondered if my son understood that. And so, and then of course, because they're career books, that he could aspire to become actors if he wanted. And so that's how Andrew Learns About Actors came about, because it was just our shared enjoyment of TV, our shared enjoyment of reading, and to educate him and other kids about the characters on TV are played by actors, and those are people that you can be. Because again, we also have underrepresentation when it comes to TV and film.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that I'm really glad you shared, because we are really underrepresented on a lot of levels.
Yes.
And it's coming back slowly, but and as I travel the country and get a chance to interview a lot of people in other cities and states, they're all saying the same thing. And then, production. Having our own production companies like Tyler Perry and so forth, and Oprah and so many others that's out here. And it's really a blessing to see that we have regular people, average people, jumping into this genre. And so when you look at what you've put together now, 20 books later, what is your fan base like? I know it's got to be huge. I know you got a lot of people asking more and more, what's your next book?
Perhaps my biggest fan is my mom. So after I published the 20th book back in 2023, probably around this time in 2023, I took a creator break, because it was 20 books in 3 years. So,
wow.
So I took a break to re-energize and refocus and just make sure I wasn't getting burnt out, because I don't want to lose my passion and drive for what I'm doing. I do still work a full-time job as a lawyer. So
that's when I saw that, Tiffany, I'm like, okay, she's a lawyer and she's an author. Okay, that two really don't go together, but that's fine.
And I can tell you how that overlaps, actually. And so, so I hadn't published, or I haven't published since March. And so my mom's like, when's the next book? When's the next? I'm like, I've given you 20. But no, I do enjoy that fans.
Well, you have a base, believe me, because as I did my little research on you and saw all of the things you've done, and I was looking at the responses and the people feedback. And I share this with I teach this in my class when I'm educating entrepreneurs, because I do a lot of startups. And I love startups because that's the focal point. And I educate them on the 4 stages of business. You have your formulation stage, your concentration stage, your momentum stage, and then you have a stability stage.
Okay.
Those are your 4 stages in Business 101. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of us don't know that, but I come from manufacturing in Chicago.
Mhm.
So I used to work for Zenith Electronics, Motorola, and Hewlett Packard up north. My degree is electronics. So I learned from manufacturing that they set the tone in the marketplace. The retailers are none but distributors for the manufacturers. We can incorporate that on what we've learned based on what people are doing today, what's relevant today. And so with social media, we got these our cell phones, we got a lot of different levels here, but these are all tools.
Mhm.
If we use them properly, we can grow mass setting if it's done properly. But if it's done in a way that we're just trying to get, then no. But what you've done, and really, and I want to give you accolades now because I can see you getting that maybe a Pulitzer or something on that level. For all of the children that you've impacted across the country, and you're global. This could be a global
Mhm.
phenomenon right
Mhm.
here. And so, but all the talk about minority kids and kids that's not educated, and then we talk about the literacy pro.
Yep.
How many kids do not know how to read, and they haven't gotten a chance to learn how to read? So you have an opportunity. Now, my next question is: are you on audio?
Oh, audiobooks?
Yes.
Not at this moment. I've been asked, but not at
Mhm.
this moment. It's not
Okay.
out of the realm of possibility, but I am looking to animate a couple of books.
That would be cool right there. I like that idea. Yeah. Animation has always been one of my favorites coming up as a kid myself. And I'm a geek and it comes to those kind of things. I had comic books and all that kind of stuff too. So superheroes, everything I had come up with. And then, and as a 70s baby, you kind of learn a lot of things. So we had video games back in when they first started. And I was
Mhm.
sharing this with my son and his group. Video games have changed since the 80s and the 90s. So it's not the same, but yet you still get a chance to have a reference point, and you can relate to certain things that's going on. But now my next question on your book, and I love that fact that you named it Sugar Cookie Book. So what comes up with the name? How did you get the name?
Yes. So the name came about because, again, I guess my husband is what? I don't know, an Asian or something.
Yeah,
But when I was telling him that I was going to finally move forward with publishing just one book, he
right.
was like, "Well, you need to set up a company." And I was like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Yes, you do, because all your books can be on your company." I'm like, "I only have one." So anyway,
Mhm.
I guess listening to him a little bit, I decided to come up with a company name.
Okay.
And a while ago, I had bought trademarks for dummies or something like
Yeah, yeah,
that. And so
yeah.
I was looking because he was like, "Well, you're gonna want to trademark and da da da." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's just one book."
Oh my God,
So
yes.
looking,
Copyrights, trademark, all of
yes.
that needs to be done. Yes.
So looking at trademark for dummies, I was trying to
Mhm.
figure out because I'm not an IP attorney at all, but there's
Right.
ramifications or requirements that you have to meet in order to
Mhm.
be able to trademark your company name. And
Correct.
so, in looking at that and learning a little bit about that, not enough to advise others, um, I realized that I needed to pick something other than like Storytime Publishing because I was thinking of something like Storytime Publishing or
Mhm.
Let's Read or something like that. So, inspired by Apple computers and Apple products,
Yes.
I started thinking of like, what do I like? What's different? What
Mhm.
relates to kids? And so I like sugar cookies. I'm not a big fan of chocolate chips. So
Yeah.
sugar cookie. And
I
so
love sugar
then,
cookies too.
yeah. And so that feeling, that
Right.
smile, see? And that's what I
Yeah.
thought about. I was like, okay, when you think about sugar cookie books, you're going to think about hopefully the timeliness of it.
Mhm.
Am I saying that right? How is
Yeah,
a
and,
classic?
and you know what the cool thing about it? You can read a book and eat a cookie.
You can read a book.
Right.
But how
Yeah.
it's classic, it's timeless, and
Mhm.
everyone loves it. Well, most everyone loves it, adults and kids, and it
I
could just
love
be
it. Yeah.
enjoyable. And so I wanted that to come to mind when people thought about my book company.
That's good. So as a self-publisher yourself, and you've now learned a little. You was a learn as you earn kind of thing. So in your business, what was the challenges that you had getting started?
I think the challenges I had getting started was just learning everything, all the ropes, because as a self publisher, you are pretty much by yourself in it. You're navigating the waters all by yourself. There's information everywhere. Everyone has their own opinion about what you should do and how to do
Mhm.
it. And so just parsing through all that information was probably really hard. And then realizing that you have to market if you have a plan to have any type of success
Right,
in the book
right.
industry.
Market. Oh, I teach that, Tiffany. I share this with you. A lot of entrepreneurs and startups, they don't have that idea yet.
Yeah.
But again, in the formulation stage, you ain't going to know everything. It's a learning. And understanding the 5 P's of marketing, it's all about the people, the product, the price, the place, and the promotion. Once you get that understanding down and you understand the flow of it, now you can build something big. But as a startup, you will need a business plan, but you also need a marketing plan.
Yeah.
Who is your target market? What age demographics are you trying to reach?
Right.
And then from there, what is going to be the campaign? How are you going to start it? You got to have some catchphrases. And so you got to have something that kind of grabs people's attention to what you're talking about. And so to know attention spans are short today. So
Yes.
nobody's going to be sitting around reading a whole novel of what you're trying to say. Short snippets, that's why we call them infomercials. And what I do on websites, I call them webmercials. And webmercials are just little snippets of your introduction of your product or service that you're trying to share in the marketplace. And once you understand that concept, that idea, then it becomes easy for you after that. But I'm really glad that you shared that. So what else do you think now that as a self-publisher that you've learned that could also help others?
Well, I do like to talk a lot about giving yourself grace as an independent publisher, a self-publisher, because one of the great things about being self-published or independently published is that you're working on your own timeline. And so if, like I said, I took a break for a year before I started back up. And so I'm able to do that because I have written for a traditional publishing company in the midst of all of this. And it was cool to have that support, but I also have really strict deadlines. So I like to always say, give yourself grace. And then people always ask, how are you able to rapid publish, if you will? How are you able to publish 20 books in a 3-year span? And so I give them advice on how you have to build your team. Again, you have to give yourself grace because I didn't set out to do it. It just happened because I was so inspired and moved to do so. But you have to build a team and you have to figure out how to reduce costs, especially if you're a children's picture book author, because those costs
can be expensive. Yes.
So talk to them about that. And then I also recently, because I wanted to make advising or people accomplishing their dreams of becoming an author affordable, if you will.
Yeah.
So you have everyone out there trying to say they're a coach and things of that sort. But of course, they cost a lot of money or more money than they might have. And so I created a resource guide called
That's why the name coach is implied.
Called A Journal for Black Women Who Want to Write a Children's Book. And it takes them from step A all the way to illustrations. And it's just hopefully can help them to change from aspiring children's book writer to published children's book writer.
Yeah. And you know what? One of the things I've learned too, Tiffany, and one of the things that was really amazing to me, I'm a big fan of PBS. Yes. And PBS has been around since I know I was a kid, probably my mama's times too. My mom was born in the 1950s. So when you look at the history of Blacks being on TV and what we have as far as narratives and children education alone, period, there was a lot of impact there. Remember, we had Sesame Street, we had Electric Company, we had all these different platforms back in the early days. But now it's like it's very scarce to see any of that today. Yeah. So what do you think now should be a good platform for young people to have their own channel, their own station?
Well, I still do watch PBS Kids all day long. Like that's going to be on my because I have the 8-year-old and I have a 2-year-old. And so PBS Kids is on all day long. Also, Nick Jr. is on because they teach lessons as well. But other shows that we like, that's maybe more on the telephone since kids like to be digital and things of that sort. Yeah. I just like a lot of educational. So, of course, Gracie's Corner is a vibe.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm happy for that.
Yeah. And I can't really think of any other shows, but YouTube Kids has a lot. Blippi is another one that my daughter really loves. And Miss Rachel has started making a huge impact since the pandemic. So those type of shows and sources is what I personally show to my kids.
Okay. Well, a lot of, since the pandemic, and I'm going to share this, since 2020, a lot of new things have come out. a lot of new fashions, a lot of new ideas, a lot of concepts, because people were at home.
Yep.
And so a lot of creativity happened at home.
Yes.
And a lot of people start bringing out a lot of stuff. I can tell you, I've built so many websites during that year, that first year of the pandemic, that I was like, everybody's like, well, we got to do something at home. The internet was flooded. I mean, so much flooded with information and so many new things happening during that 2020 year. And here we are now, 2024, 4 years later, and we still are being flooded with a lot of information, a lot of details when it comes to how we build and grow and what we share as a narrative. How controlling our own content, though, is what I'm looking for all of us as entrepreneurs, as business owners, and making sure, legally speaking, that we're on the right track, so nobody can steal your idea. And I hear a lot of that, copyrights, and that, you come out with an idea. Don't share everything, with everybody. Just give a little bit and say, okay, this is what I have an idea for. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure that you're protected and you're covered, so that way your mission doesn't get tainted or tarnished in any way. So with that, 20 books now, yes, you've written and have. What is one of your favorite books that you think is most impactful to you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, I don't know if I can say one. I'm gonna say two.
Take as many as you think. Out of 20. Name five. Okay, we don't say what's your fave five. What's your fave five?
Well, so one of my most favorite books is Black Boy Hair Joy. And that is a book that is a rhyming book that teaches Black boys self-love, so to love their hair. We don't really have, and if you probably thinking to yourself, like, do we have those? We only have probably like a handful of books that teaches Black boys that their hair is also amazing. But the reason why I felt like this book was needed was because Black boys, like Black girls and men and women, are teased about their hair or have issues concerning their hair, but we're missing that. We're not teaching our Black boys that they're worthy of love, respect, and joy. So I wrote that book for the Black boys out there after my son was teased. So that's one of my favorite books.
Oh, your son was teased. Okay.
It was a light, soft tease, but that's what made me start thinking about it. So that's one of my favorite books. And then the Andrew series as a whole is one of my favorites. They're near and dear to my heart. They were my flagship products. That's what I keep doing. That's what I'm going to keep doing. If I don't do any other books, I'll always have an Andrew book because they're career exploration books. And I think it's very important to expose our children to their future possibility. You hear my child's?
Yeah, I hear the child, but also in the background, I see the little chat scientist back there.
Yes, exactly.
So, I'm a nerd when it comes to science. And when I got my degree in electronics, I just wanted to continue on, and I had to learn my family's history and what they were doing back in the day. My great-grandfather worked for General Motors, and my great-grandmother worked for the Campbell Soup Company. And we had enough soup in the house to take care of everything. We were the healthiest kids on the block because we had a lot of soup. But it was just giving us opportunities of continuing to stay in a creative mindset. And this is one of the levels that I'm really excited about with your book in the Andrew series. So you have how many Andrew series books do you have?
Right now we have 5. So we're exploring actors, teachers, lawyers, scientists, and engineers. And then we have the I Can Be Anything exploration journal that exposes them to or introduces 8 careers and activities that kind of get them thinking about it. So Andrew Learns About career books are my favorite and or near and dear to my heart. I don't know if they're my favorite, but they're near and dear. They are one of my favorites. I'm just going to admit it.
Right. No, that's fine. Well, that's good that you have those books like that, and it's really a good opportunity. And I know on your website you have probably showcased a lot of different levels of books. But what do you think is one of the books that one of your people like to get?
The most popular book. Well, actually, depending on season, but the most popular book, regardless of season, is Andrew Learns About Engineers. That has been recognized by different sources. It's landed on lists, and it is the most popular of my books. Spencer Knows Spring is having its time because it's spring. And so it just, it was like one of my first books that was really popular. It's on a whole bunch of book lists as well, including Yahoo Best Products for Spring Children's Books. It was Houston Reads Day 2024 featured read. And so Spencer Knows Spring is really, really popular. And Andrew Learns About Engineers is like the top 2 popular.
Right.
But I can continue if you want.
Well, no, that's good. That's good. So now that you have the platform for your books, Sugar Cookie Books, you're basically your self-publishing company, and I see a lot of self-publishers today, and I'm so commended and recommend that they continue what they're doing because we don't have enough of that going on. So, what other platforms do you want to see your books in? What levels?
What levels? Oh man. So I do want to one day be recognized for my contribution to the literary industry.
That will happen. That will happen.
I also would like, I mentioned animation and we talked about PBS, but I think it would be so cool to have Andrew Learns About Career series picked up as a TV series one day, because again, I will keep expanding it. I want to become the Britannica of career books for kids. So I will keep expanding it, and I would hope that it'll have like Dr. Seuss feel, the Cat in the Hat knows a lot about that.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Type of feel. And other platforms, I feel like I'm on a number. So with self-publishing, you're able to get distribution depending on companies you go with. So I'm on a lot of course.
So which ones did you decide to select? This is very important, vitally important for all my listeners and people who are wanting to get into self-publishing as a distribution. What did you find was more interesting about going out and publishing, getting the information out there?
You mean, who did I decide to publish with?
Yeah, who did you decide to go with to distribute your books? I'm sorry.
So there are about 5 self-publishing platforms, but the 2 most popular are Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. We also call it KDP for short, and Ingram Spark. And so I publish on both of those platforms, Amazon KDP and on Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark has the larger distribution arm, and so you definitely want to have your book on there. And that's how I get onto other online retailers such as Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and things of that sort.
Okay, good. So would you say that having, as a self-publisher, having your own online bookstore would be good?
Yes and no, because of the competition. So I have an online bookstore on bookshop.org, which is a website that houses independent bookstores. And so I put a bookstore on there, but we have so much competition with bookstores that that's not one of my current goals, to have an online bookstore.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. To answer that question. Thank you for that. And so on the next journey, now even in the month of April, wow. What is your goal for this month, 2024, in April?
So I am putting out another book soon. So Andrew Learns About Chefs just went into the illustration phase.
Chefs. Okay. I see where you're going with this.
So I'm really excited about that, to finally get another Andrew book out. I know my mom is very excited as well. I'm
glad your mom is your biggest fan, because I'm telling you, she's pushing you to the maximum. You know that.
She is. I'm like, lady. But this month I am focusing on building partnerships with hopefully organizations and companies that's focused on increasing literacy rates among our Black children or underrepresented groups. And hopefully they can see my books as a resource to help with that, because, they feature diverse characters, they're engaging, and they're written in a way to support literacy. So that's what my focus is for the month of March and this quarter.
Wow, that's great. That is great. And there are some organizations that are for that. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people don't seem to realize that your book could be in one of those literacy programs. And even in the school systems, unfortunately, a lot of school systems are not really adopting a lot of this that really is necessary. But I think, because I can tell you, when I was coming up as a kid, we had we had children's books that was more phenomenal back then. Mr. Jiminy Cricket, if you remember him. And so we had that going on. So a lot of animation, a lot of different storytelling. And so storytelling is key, but it's also based on reality, what is really relevant today and what's really happening right now for our young people to really get to the levels. And right now, the time is of essence, because it's so much out here. We want to make sure they get the right information, the right content, and that they follow the right, star when it comes to building themselves up and get rid of all this noise and rhetoric that's going on, but really have something to focus, because kids don't play like they used to. and they don't have entertainment or enjoyment like they used to. So
No.
you have to protect them more so now than ever, especially.
Yes.
And it's like, you gotta become almost packing them just to kind of keep things in order. But one thing I can say with your Sugar Cookie Publishing Company, and yeah, I'm glad you said about the notoriety. You want to get to a well-known level or point. You are going to get there in 3 years and 20 books. That's impressive. I've never seen anybody write that many books in 3 years. I mean, come on, really. But that lets me know that your passion has continued to carry you all the way through to this point. And now that you're going through this year, 2024, what would you see would happen for you in the ending of this year? What do you want to see coming as we close out the year?
As we close out the year, I'm hoping that I can achieve the goals of, so I mentioned partnerships with organizations, and I mentioned Houston Reads Day, and that was a partnership with Literacy Now. For their Houston Reads Day that they host. So I'm hoping that when I look back on the year, I can be like, oh, I'm so grateful that I was able to have an impact on so many children, be it on my own or through the partnerships and collaborations. I do also work with companies who bring me on campus and expose me. So just more exposure and more impact and more awareness.
Yeah. Do you have sometimes the parents come up to you and say, hey, what book do you think I should give my child?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time.
So you become So you're actually a teacher too on levels, because now you can educate a lot of people on that. And speaking, what kind of law do you practice?
Employment discrimination.
Oh, okay. Well, see, there we go. Now we get into the go.
You're like, I'm starting to see the intersection here.
Yes, exactly. I see the connection now. It's connecting now, the dots. So as a lawyer, and now that you begin to take on another career mindset for what you're doing, and as a mother yourself, what do you want to see your children to be on the level of getting educated on? That's going to be important that you think.
It's important for my children to, they both love to read. So I feel like as long as we've done our part so far, and as long as that continues throughout the school years will be great. But I want them to know more than anything that they can be anything, and they don't have to just be restricted to one. So as we keep saying, I'm a lawyer and an author. And so when I go on visits or I talk to my children, it's like, what do you want to be? And they'll say two things. And I remember when I was young, like in 4th grade or something, I listed so many things that I wanted to be. But at the time,
we all did. Yeah.
You had to focus on one. But now we're at a point where you don't have to just focus on one. You can actually be more than one thing. So I want them to know that they belong. I want them to know that they're beautiful. I want them to know that they can be anything, whether they have seen someone be it or not. My son the other day asked me about, I can't remember what he was reading, but he was reading something. And Barack Obama came up, and I said, like, he was the first Black president, and he knew that. And so he's like, well, who's the first? And I said, Kamala Harris is the first female Black vice president. He said, well, who's the first female president? I said, we haven't had one yet.
Right. Yes. Right.
We haven't had one. Because I keep getting on his nerves about it being Women's History Month. I'm like, it's Women's History Month, haha. But yes, I just want them to, be emboldened, be empowered, and be knowledgeable. And be a force to reckon with.
What do you think the school systems lack in essence of that part of getting our kids ready and prepared for what's happening in the world today?
For what I understand about the school system is that they have to teach to standards, standardized tests mainly. And so that leaves out a lot of opportunity to teach other things such as value. And then because the standards are based on archaic concepts, outdated. Yes, exactly. Concepts that they're being pushed to just learn just enough to pass the test. So when they're being tested on reading comprehension, they're not being taught to read, but they're being taught to try to write or answer the questions. Testing strategy, if you will.
Well, you're right. Exactly right.
Yes.
And I noticed that the curriculums have changed. I come up, we have vocational schools, high school, went to college, and when I played football in high school and college, I thought about trying to get into the NFL one day. I said, well, maybe that might be the thing, but that wasn't the lesson. The lesson God gave me was something totally different. So I studied electronics, got into that, and started working for big companies and manufacturers that it taught me some things that I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have learned this had I selected the other thing that I was looking at, and my path shifted. And so now that you see that that's happening out here with the educational system, wouldn't it behoove that the parents of what's going on be able to continue to teach their kids at home and educate them even further?
Yeah, we definitely have to do our part at home. And especially, you kind of touched on this earlier with the book bans and schools not being able to just purchase any type of book. Our books are being opposed just for being by a Black author or just for featuring a Black person. I'm not going to say Black face, but a Black child. They're just banned for, those simple reasons, those crazy reasons. And so we're going to have to, as parents, go around that by purchasing and having these books, owning these books ourselves and reading them with our children.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, Tiffany. I think, I look at the school systems here and across the country, not just in Texas, but also across the country. And like I said, I've traveled, and in my travels, I get a chance to talk about and share information with a lot of different people, but parents alone, and fathers and mothers, and we all look for the best for our children. We're always looking for something that's going to benefit their growth, because growth, again, is the most important to me, because we got to constantly keep growing. And we only grow two ways, Tiffany. We grow down and we grow up. The roots, we grow down to start. But as we grow up, light. Yeah. So the nourishment that we get from the sun, the light, is continue to put us in a perspective of levels that a lot of people miss out on. And unfortunately, we just have to make sure that our children understand, because they're going to keep growing, keep being inquisitive. I love inquisitive kids. And my mom would say, well, why do you like, well, because a lot of times parents stifle their kids without, from talking or expressing themselves in a way or asking certain questions. They don't ask that question. Well, why not? That's going to be the question. Well, why not? And now we see TikTok and we see all these different levels of things on social media with young people. I'm like, wait a minute, are they really serious about that? And so we have to really change the narrative and making sure that we stand strong when it comes to that. And being a member of the NAACP Missouri City branch, I'm the webmaster there when I built their website for the NAACP. And when you look at the website, when you go there, we begin to see some narratives of what we're doing in Fort Bend County. There's a lot of history there that I'm just learning about. And the school system, Fort Bend ISD, what they're doing, and the way the kids are being treated, and opportunity that's being lost because they can't do these certain things in the school systems. And so with the books that we have, and I'll share this with parents, we have to be the teachers too as well. Yes. At home and everywhere we go. And so with that, let me ask you a question. Do you carry your Andrew books with you when you're out and about?
I tried to keep a few copies on me. It was easier when it was like one or two, but then when it became 20 books, it became kind of heavy. So
right. You become your own billboard, your own store, and I'm really happy that a lot of people take pride in their work and what they've created. Not just having children is a creative blessing, but to create something from yourself, of yourself, to represent young people as a whole. That's a whole nother level. And you will be, and I say this, you will be rewarded for that effort.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited that you got a chance to come on the show and talk to us today about what you're. We want to have you back on again, because I still want to continue on this, because I want to go through these 20 books. I really want to do that. I'm serious. I want to go through these 20 books, Tiffany, because one thing I've seen and I've learned in that I love books myself, and I have on the iPhones we have books app.
Yes.
So we can download the books on our phone and read it.
Yes.
And I see the kids doing that now, which is pretty cool, So I'm like, oh, y'all got books on your phone? She said, oh, one little girl, like, yeah, I got my book here. So she was happy to show it. So I'm like, oh, so you can read when you go on the go? She said, yeah, when I'm in the car, I can read a book. So those things like that. So I'm really excited and really glad that you got a chance to share this. But before we close out in this cast, what is it that you want to see the kids today that can't understand or read, that they can get out there and what, first of all, how much do your books cost? What is the
They range
price?
from $9.99 to $13 for the paperback.
Really?
Mhm.
So, and what's the best way to go and get it?
The best way is Amazon, but sugarcookiebooks.com, sugarcookiebooks.com.
Right. I like that. We always say cookies, so you don't ever put an S at that end.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Right. It's Sugar Cookie Books.
Sugar Cookie Books. Maybe I should buy the URL for Sugar Cookies.
You should. You should.
I just thought about that when you said that.
Yeah, you should, because that's going to be, and I always share this with a lot of business owners. When you get one URL, you want to get as many of those. So if they mispronounce it or misspell it, and because of the sound, then you also got them. You got the capture of that too. I know one company bought all the listed names that they could do, but on GoDaddy it's cheap, so it's not that expensive to do. But it's better to do that just in case they just pronounce it with an S or without the S or some other way. But you still got that URL. It's under you, and you just put it as a sub under your main number, your main domain. So with that, I'm really excited for you, and I'm really glad that you got a chance to share. And I know your husband must be happy now that you got all these books out at this time. And is he reading the books too?
Yes, he reads them with our kids.
Good. That's a good man. Okay, that's a good man. So I'm, because it's interesting. I see a lot of fathers today, and the men today. We really encouraging the fathers today to basically take time to interact with your child in a way to show that the concern, and you kind of give them the nourishment so they can grow and learn too as well. I learned a lot from my uncles, my dad, ex-military. So he was very strict on a lot of levels and putting things out there. But it gave me some kind of boundaries, and it gave me some kind of way to go where I need to find my way in what I do. And so with Sugar Cookie Books, now that you're self-publishing, I'm really glad it's it. So this is going to be your 4th year now?
Yeah, we're going on my 4th year. August will be the 4th.
Okay, so wow. So on your anniversary, are you planning on celebrating with a new chapter of your series or a new level of distribution?
Well, I am, because I'm like, am I going to share this? I am also working on a chapter book. So one of the things that I get, other than where are your books for girls, and then I have a whole sermon about that, but
okay. Yeah, for girls, okay.
But no, other than that, I get, and my son is getting older as well, and he's a voracious reader. So he looks for books that have more words as well. So these picture books, they're picture books. They only have so many words.
Right.
So I am expanding to early elementary chapter books. And so I hope to release maybe one
that's good.
by August.
That's good. And it's really good that you do that, because a lot of times we look at what we can actually put out here that kind of get kids that want to be avid readers, because we have a lot of them out here. And of course, kids like to tease them because they like to read a lot, but it's for their education. It takes you to a place. I love that. And your imagination can go anywhere, when you're reading a book. And especially if it's a good book, because as the story continues, they begin to imagine and visualize exactly what's going on within that chapter.
So, and as I've talked to a group of students before about the importance of reading, I like to emphasize that if reading was not all that, if you will, then they would not be banning books, but we would not have been punished way back in the day. It's not even that far back, but we would not have been punished or prevented from reading if reading was not something that was so important, was not a tool that could empower us all, the tool to knowledge, the tool to our future. So that's just, it's like what separates us from animals. Like, we know how to read, and reading is powerful. And that's why they have that saying of, if you want to hide something from someone, put it in a book.
Right. Exactly. And you know what? And it gives us intelligence that we can comprehend. And that's elementary 101 comprehension. And we talk about that, and we talk about social studies and all these other things, and literature and English and all of that. And if you don't know how to properly speak to a person or communicate, then that's a problem. And they didn't want us to do any of that.
Right.
They want us to be mumbled, mute, like animals in a sense. But we've overcome that. And, we're not going back. I don't care what nobody said. We're not going back. That's over with. That's dead and gone. We're not doing that. So with this journey that you put in the 4 years of your Sugar Cookie books, I'm really proud of you sharing today what you shared about your books. And again, we're going to have you back so we can talk about these 20 books.
Okay.
I mean, Tiffany, I'm serious when I say this, because I want to know, and I know my readers, my listeners too want to know, all these books, and I'm seeing the list over here as I read it in the background, what you got back there. So I'm looking back there, and I'm saying, okay, we're going to talk about that sunny summer. So I want to know what that's all about. I want to know about that fall, and I want to know about all of these different books that you got here. So on our next time, whenever you're available, just let me know what your schedule's like, and we can bring you back, and we can definitely talk more, because I want the kids to really understand the importance of reading and understand the importance of creativity. And a lot of children writing children books now, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And I'm gonna have some of them back on. I'm gonna have them on the show as well. The kids, the parents with the kids, so they can talk about their book. And why did the kids come out with books? And because they said they didn't see anything that they liked, so they wrote their own.
And that is so powerful in itself. I did a recent LinkedIn post about how perceptive our kids are. And I remember that when I was at a vending event back in December, this lady had come up to my table. She had looked at the books and she said, "These are awesome, but I don't have any kids." She walked away. She came back and then she said, I'm gonna buy this book, Andrew Learns About Engineers, for this one of my students. She was a teacher. And she said she was buying it because the little girl got in trouble for coloring in the library books at school. And so when they asked, "Why are you coloring in a library book?" she said, "Because none of these kids look like me." So she was trying to color them. Exactly. So I was like, "How old is this kid?" She was like, "She's in my grade. I mean, she's my student. She's in the first grade." I'm like, "First grade?"
Yeah.
So that was just crazy.
Perception. And it's like they already come equipped with information. And it's like they come that way. And it's very important, though. And I'm really glad. And I want to see workshops for you.
Okay.
No, seriously, Tiffany, I want to see workshops for you. I see this every time I think about when I'm talking with one of my clients or I have guests, I'm always trying to see a way that we can benefit together and work together and collaborate and basically bring it out there so people can have that. In Houston, Texas, they do have a lot of opportunities of workshops. And we're trying to get our own land and our own business. Me and Dr. Lou, we talk about this. And we're also educating them on investing. And making an investment into your company as a publisher will be a blessing, because we want to make sure everybody get a chance to see what you've done in your 3.5, almost 4 years you're doing this. So I'm really excited for you. We're going to stay in touch and keep in touch on that level. And I'm really excited for you. And as a closing, what do you want? Okay, how can, again, say your information on your website where they can go and get the books, and if they want to leave a comment or a question they may have for you, they can send it.
So my name is Tiffany Obeng. The website is sugarcookiebooks.com, and the web address is sugarcookiebooks@gmail.com, email address. So if you type in Sugar Cookie Books or Tiffany Obeng, you should be able to find whatever you're looking for.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, Miss Obeng. I got you down. And that's a blessing. And really, thank you again for coming to our show and get a chance to come to our podcast. I had my radio show, and we'll share this with everybody, my listeners, and everybody that's transformed over to the podcast, because I was doing a radio show on Blog Talk Radio at the time, and back in 2012. And I had over 20,000 listeners at that time. And when I got the chance to talk to importance, because everybody is so hovered about information, that they don't want to share it, but I give it out for free. Reason being, because information should be that. If it can bless somebody else to do something that's going to help them and uplift them to be the best that they can be, by all means, do it. And I love the fact that I was able to do that. And now that I'm doing a podcast now, and I just started this year, and I said, well, let me get in where everybody else is talking about, hey, you need to do the pod. Well, okay, now I'm here. So you ain't got no excuse, ladies and gentlemen. You can basically come in and tune in. And well, what about this platform? I can be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and X. That's 5 platforms.
Yeah.
On social media that I can put this on. And YouTube as well. YouTube.
Yep.
Right. So there is no excuse. We have an opportunity, but we're going to be across the country, ladies and gentlemen, sharing with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, where they can share their opportunities and what they've been able to do in the marketplace. So that way it gives you encouragement that you can step out and do the same thing. You don't have to be afraid. You're not an island. Come on. We're all here together. We can help you. So
or do it scared. Exactly. We always say, do it scared.
Right. It's the best way to do. And we have this, do it for dummies books. And, you can do all this for dummies, I mean, if you don't know, get one of them books. I'm telling you, Shaquille O'Neal gave a great testimony when he said he didn't know. He got a business book for dummies.
Yeah.
And he read that book, and now he's he's a billionaire now. So,
right.
And it's just no end. And he just opened up a restaurant right up the street on Westheimer here, Big Chicken. So it's not far. So everybody understand, if you want to learn how to start a business, come on and you can go to my website at www.globaltouchenterprise.net. You can Google me as well, globaltouchenterprise.net. You can just Google me, Global Touch Enterprise. And you can see everything that I've done, I continue to do, and what I've been able to help across the country. My focus and goal this year, 2024, is to make sure that we teach and train each other, and that the churches, nonprofit organizations, and local businesses grow within that community where nobody lacks anything. We all sharing the same resources, and we all growing the same way. That's how you build a network, a platform, a neighborhood. And so that way our children and our elders all grow continually. Because you can never stop growing. No matter how long you're on this earth, you can still grow. That's the cool part about that. You just want to make sure you're constantly growing in whatever endeavor you want to get into, and making sure it's a passion for you. Because when you have a passion, you don't quit. Notice that? You don't quit. Right. You continue.
That's right.
And so you want to make sure that you have all of these things in love, and keep studying, keep learning your craft, learning the industry that you want to get into. Is it growing? What can I do different from what others are doing? Look at your competitors.
Right.
And if they're doing it, do the opposite. I would say observe the masses and do the opposite. Yeah, observe the masses and do the opposite. That's the best way to learn. That's the best way to grow. And I'm a big Robert Frost poet fan, because, The Road That's Less Taken. Mm-hmm. Beautiful poem. Mm-hmm. And he took the one that was less traveled by. That makes all the difference. And so you want to make sure you follow your path. Stay on your path. Yep. Don't let nobody take you off your square.
Nope. Ava DuVernay said, if you stay in your lane, there's no traffic.
There you go. I love that. You're right. It is so right. And this will be that's one of the lessons that we want to make sure everybody understands again. Because again, it's not about looking to the left or to the right. It's about forward, moving forward, and keeping it forward with our children, with our families, with our friends, and with our associates. We want to keep it forward. And the more we keep that, they can't touch it. Because they back there.
Right.
They back there. You are ahead of them.
Right.
And that's what leadership is all about. As a servant leader, and that's what I am. I'm a servant leader. As a servant leader, you want to serve the people. You help enough people get what they want, you automatically get what you want. But you just got to help enough people.
Yep.
And service to many does lead to greatness. And keep that in mind. Service to many leads to greatness. That's a principle. A lot of principles out here. If we follow it and we adopt it and we learn from it and we understand it, we can move mountains together. With that, I want to thank you all for tuning in for this edition of GTE Professional Network Radio or Podcast. I'm your host again, Ed Peterson, with Miss Tiffany Obing, and I'm really excited for her with Sugar Cookie Books. Please look her up. Do not hesitate. Get her books. I know we got parents on here, so get your kid a book. She got the Andrew series. You see that in the background. All of the things that she's doing, I want you guys to support her. Please, please, please believe she's going to be the biggest thing out here that's going to impact a lot of kids across the country and around the world. This is global now. Anytime you're around Global Touch Enterprise, you're going to go global. That's my focus and it go for everybody. It's global impact. With that, you all have a great afternoon, great evening, and we'll see you guys again next week. Y'all take care now. Bye.